Hello, all. I hope everyone had a successful and productive week. We are continuing with our weekly portion review, and this week we are in the portion of Balak. This is Balak, king of Moab, and a very, very famous portion. He tries to hire the prophet Balaam, to curse Israel. There's the famous story of Balaam and his donkey. Ultimately, his curse turns into a blessing. And like we said, a very, very famous and quite interesting portion. And I want to focus a little on his character of Balaam and what he's actually trying to do. So, firstly, assuming we believe and understand him to be a prophet, how does he dare to curse the chosen nation, right? How is he trying to challenge God in this sense? So, first, we should say that by doing so, by trying to do that, Balaam is actually following a tradition of the prophetic behavior, right? We see throughout history that different prophets have engaged in dialogue with God, sometimes even arguing and standing their ground. And we even see them changing the course of history. So the famous stories would be, or examples of this would be Abraham when he prayed for Saddam, Moses when he prays for the people of Israel after the golden calf. He also prays for Aaron and Miriam, right, challenging God. We have Elijah when he prays for the boy, and there's other examples as well. And sort of within Balaam lies a certain concern for the nations of the world. He is their representative. And in a certain sense, what he's doing is representing the swan song for the forces of evil. Just to clarify, when I say the forces of evil, and to emphasize, it doesn't mean like demonic or satanic. It really means to something that is a mixture of good and evil. Maybe like set the Sith, right? That they studied from the Jedi, but yet they're manipulating the Force to its darker side. Now, Balaam is really a prophet for the general humanity, and he sees the emergence of the people of Israel as a cultural alternative and really a threat to what has existed in humanity so far. And in a certain sense, Balaam comes to the heavenly court, right, or to God to represent the Gentile position, right, the position that does not really desire the existence of a chosen people. And it can even be said that Balaam has some sort of legitimate intuition from his perspective, right? He is wanting to halt the wheels of history and divert them to somewhere else. However, in the end, ultimately, God reveals that he chooses his people of Israel with love. But nevertheless, an attempt itself needed to be made to challenge this. And it is clear that if we as a nation arrive on the historical political stage in the world, it can't be done without hearing the opposing stance or the opposing opinions from the other nations of the world, right? We're playing in a game where there's other people. And therefore, a person or someone at least at the stature of Moses needs to uh, raise his voice and argue for the Gentiles. Now, this is a similar struggle that even occurs in the Garden of Eden between morality and nature, right? Between the living soul, which is morality, and the serpent, which represents nature. And it can be said that the struggle still exists even today, right? It's a pattern that continues. When a Western cosmopolitan ideas challenge the morality of Israel and its nation and tries to convince it of its own immorality. And it's somewhat reminiscent also of what Balaam is trying to do, standing against Moses. And we need to know our righteousness, meaning in what sense the values represented by the people of Israel are the antithesis to this cosmopolitan idea, right? In Balaam's terms, all this is called the serpent, and we see in Numbers 23, for there's no divination against Jacob, no evil omens against Israel. And the word divination is actually lenachesh, but it is the same as nachach, as serpent. The serpent really symbolizes the grasp of nature on the human soul, overwhelming it. And the moment you really nullify the uniqueness of the people of Israel, you are effectively nullifying the supremacy of morality over nature. In that sense, the uniqueness of the people of Israel is that as a nation, not necessarily as individuals, but as a nation, it represents moral values. And whereas nationalism of other nations express a natural movement within which morality is merely it's a private instance, right? It's something that it's a derivative of life. And yet, we see that Balaam's language is so rich and so beautiful that we are actually captivated by it. Right? When he says, "How beautiful are your tents, Jacob, your dwelling places, Israel," this is something that this expression that is said by one of our greatest enemies. Yet every morning when we enter the synagogue, we mention this prayer. And this is really to say that there's something captivating in the general culture offered through its distinguished representative, in this case, which is Balaam. And from this, we could learn that we do need to stand against Balaam. We cannot underestimate his value and belittle him, right? So, on the contrary, we must recognize that the opponent is great. Cosmopolitan or cosmopolitanism is a great idea with significant power. And precisely against this backdrop, we need to understand what still makes the message of the people of Israel unique, right? Without it, all this great cosmopolitan attitude, all that humanity represents has no hope or way to properly and truly be expressed. And through the nation of Israel, we are here to assist and help. And as I said many times, be the chimney cleaners to allow the rest of humanity to express itself properly in proper orientation. I wish us all a Shabbat Shalom of peace and tranquility. Take care.